What you're about to watch is a special private training session for people who bought a copy of my book, Built to Serve. Enjoy.
There he is.
All right, insiders, here we go. It's happening. So the theme was self-publishing, guidance and tips. I'm a fan. I've done both. So Built to Serve and Your One Word were both published with a publisher. I've had two others that have been self-published. Couple things to think about for self-publishing. One, you need to start marketing right away. The biggest problem when people are thinking about writing the book is they think, oh, the book is so hard to write. It is, but you know what's even harder? Marketing the book. There's so many people who have a book that then goes nowhere. You have to start marketing the book right away, like as you start doing it. And one of the best things I did with my first book, Your One Word, it wasn't self-published, but I documented the journey of me writing it. So every week, what I would do, a book took about a year to write. Every week, I would document my process to say what's going on with the book right now, what new chapters I'm adding, what new quotes I'm putting in, if I have writer's block and I feel stuck, the process of getting my book cover and feedback. And my book was 70,000 words, and was it 70,000? 100,000? I forget what it was. Like I cut half the book out by giving it to people to review. And so all of that process, I documented, I filmed it, and you can still see it on my channel if you go back and look up Your One Word. And then what I did was I asked for questions, and hey, if you have any questions about the book writing process, let me know and I'll answer it next week. And then I would look at the comments from last week and then spend the second half of the video responding to people's questions. And so what it did was give me an opportunity every week to talk about the book without talking about the book, right? Because how many times can you say, I got a new book coming out, please support me? Most people only do a video when it's up, and maybe one in the process, but definitely when it's up. But by that point, it's too late. Like you've missed an entire year potentially of promotion and marketing. And don't think of it as like sales and you got to sell this person. Just think of it as your people are coming along the journey with you, and they're excited just as you are to get this thing up. And that process works for everything, not just books, whatever program, product, course you're creating. To start creating content in the journey of you making it starts to build the audience and preps them for when it's ultimately going to be available to purchase. So that was one that was super, super, super helpful. By the time I released it, there was already people who wanted to buy. Second is the self-publishing process requires an editor. This is like the best part of having a publisher is the editing. They don't really help you with the marketing. They don't really help you with like all the things. They get you into bookstores and they help you with editing. Like those are the two best parts of using a publisher. So you need somebody to help you on the editing, because no matter how much you think you're good at it, you're still going to find mistakes. There's still one mistake in Your One Word. There's a typo that went through 30 of my friends, went through professional editors at the publisher, and there's still a mistake in the book. And it's fun. It's fun to kind of see it there. But if it's just you, I would try to recruit a friend or somebody who's really good at editing to go through it with a fine-tooth comb. Whether you hire them, whether they do it because they love you, whether you do some kind of trade of services to make sure that all the typos have been fixed, and also just that it flows and makes sense. Sometimes as you write something down, it makes sense to you, but doesn't necessarily make sense to a first-time reader, right? Because you're not only writing for the hardcore audience, you're writing for people who don't know you yet. And so they may not be as familiar with the way that you talk and communicate. So just having somebody to give you feedback on it. Even yesterday, I made a meditation video. A guided meditation video, my first. There's a song that it's like it's instrumental with nature in it. Like I want to make my own guided meditation to this. So I put it on repeat, and I wrote a script, and then I read the script like same day, and then I recorded it and I gave it to Nina. Okay, Nina, here, try this. And Nina doesn't really meditate, so like okay, but it's perfect. Like trying to reach new people. And she listened to the whole thing, and she said it was a little fast for her. So that was her feedback. Like, it's too fast. You're speaking too quickly as you go through it. That's great feedback. Yeah, because that would be my goal. Is I want to be able to reach people who don't typically do this. And so that was her thoughts, and I need to redo it. So now already, as I was talking, now it's much slower than how I'm talking right now, right? If this was the meditation, oh my gosh, like this is crazy. I'm getting amped up instead of relaxed. But the goal of the meditation is basically setting the intention for the day. So it's helping you set your intention for how you want to show up today. Not just the to-dos, but how do you want to feel about yourself and the energy you're putting out, and be intentional about that throughout the day. Because that's something that I do every morning. So I need to now decide that's already a 24-minute meditation. So if I'm going to slow it down, is that now an hour meditation I put up, or do I cut half of it to keep it tight, or do I turn it into 5 different meditations? I don't know yet. I got to play with it, but the feedback was helpful. So getting somebody, 2 kinds of people, one, an editor to actually help you go through the book and fine tooth comb it, find all the mistakes, but 2, have a test audience. This is something that even big publishers don't do. I could not believe it that they do not have test audiences. When I wrote both, well, the second book, I already knew what to expect, but when I wrote Built to Serve, I thought, okay, at some point we're going to give it to a test audience. We're going to get feedback. We're going to learn how to make it better. Just like a movie, before they actually put it out, they do test audiences to see. And I said, well, how does the test audience process work? It's like, test audience. There's no test audience. It's us. What you just the publisher, the one person who's editing it is now the jury of, is this is good or not? Like that is not cool. We gotta, it's like, okay, well, if you want to give it to somebody else, you can. Like, yes. So I printed off 30 copies of my book. We did it both times. And I found people who were in my city who are friends or friends of friends. And I wanted kind of half entrepreneurs and half non-entrepreneurs, because I speak to entrepreneurs, like half of my core audience and half people who are outside my core audience, just to get a flavor. And I printed the book and I gave it to them. And I said, mark it up. You like something, underline it, highlight it. You don't like something, put an X through it. You have thoughts, ideas as you go, like write it in the margin. I don't care what you write. If it's a note to yourself, all I care is that something that I wrote inspired you to make a note, and mark it up. Don't keep this clean, and I'll give it back to you at the end. And for your one word, we cut half of the book, and the half that we cut was never released. I still have it on my computer. It's never seen the light of day. But the pages we cut were the ones that nobody marked up, nobody highlighted, nobody wrote in the margin. Like that hurt. I loved it. I loved every page of that book. Right? It's like, nobody likes this page? Are you kidding me? Right? But if you go through, you send it to 30 people and nobody put any kind of comment on page 152, then guess what? 152 gets cut. It's out. So creating the test audience, not even so much caring about how they catch the typos or anything like that. Some of them caught it, but I said, read it more for you to learn from it, as opposed to reading it for mistakes. And just, where does it make sense? Where does it not make sense? And I took all 30 copies back, put them on my floor, and then I went page by page. So I went to page 1. I made a master copy myself, page 1, and then looked at everybody's page 1. And whatever they underlined, I underlined on my master copy. And so if there were like 10 people who underlined line 4, I underlined line 4 10 times. And you got to kind of see where, not very efficient, but pretty effective. And so then you end up with a much better book. So what was point 1?
Take them through the process.
Yeah. Start marketing right away. 2, test audience. And then 3, work on your cover. You have to do that anyway, self-publishing. But when I went with the publisher, I was also shocked at how little work went into the cover. I just kind of trusted the process at the beginning, not realizing I had to maybe take more ownership in it. Like, I got a publisher. They know what they're doing. Well, not really. Like, they came out with the cover, I don't know, 2 weeks before we had to go and actually go to print. And I didn't like the cover. And we didn't have time to split test the cover on anything else either. So I was kind of frustrated. Again, it's just, oh, well, we think it looks good. Really? That's how we're making decisions? Like, one person thinks it looks good? In respect, it's a great start, but so Built to Serve, we did a bunch of split tests I knew going in advance, okay, we're going to get the same thing, same problem. So let's start cover design, because the cover becomes really important, right? People say don't judge a book by its cover, but people do. Like, they're not going to pull off the book off the shelf or click on Amazon if it doesn't have an appealing cover. So think about that in advance as well. Mary says, wow, it's a whole process. Well, like anything, right? I mean, if you're going to spend a year of your life working on something, you kind of want it to go somewhere and lead to something. And so, yeah, I mean, if you just wanted to self-publish something just for the sake of self-publishing it, you can do that. You can do that today. You could take, you could bang out a couple pages, put a quick cover on it, and hey, you got a book. So it's also depending, what's your goal? What's your goal with this? Some people, their goal is just that's been my bucket list. I just want to have a book with my name on it. Awesome. Then you don't have to do something bigger with it. That's my quick take on self-publishing. Hope that helps. Now I'd love to turn it over to you guys. What do you got? How can I help? How can I serve?
One more quick question. You're moving everything here to Discord. Is that starting in January?
Yeah, probably January. So Discord is so much better, guys. Get on Discord, evancarmichael.biz. It's free. There's amazing people. I'm there every day. Every day I'm there talking to people, answering questions, and it's just good vibes. There's other entrepreneurs. You can ask for help. You can help others. You can post your favorite books and quotes and meet other people. And it's just, you're not alone doing this on this wild journey.
Hi, Evan. It's Olivia here. How are you?
Hey, Olivia.
Yeah. Do you think it's helpful to join one of the book writing clubs to go through the processes?
That really depends on how much community support you need from it. There's pros and cons to it. Like any club that you're a part of, it kind of goes at the average of the club. So a lot of times, if you're in the wrong club, then you're going to go really slow. People aren't following through and they're not doing the work, and they said they were going to do it, but then they don't. That's kind of who you're hanging out with, and it's going to likely pull you down. Versus if you're around people who are aggressive and doing it and chasing down their dreams and like, no, I want to get this book done, by X date, and they're really hustling after it. It's that's a much better environment. So community is always going to be helpful when you're doing something that you don't know how to do, and when it feels overwhelming and stressful. Just a quick shout out to Movement Makers this morning. We had a guy who was suicidal earlier on in the week, and he shared that in the breakout session, and then had the courage to come at the end and just say, I was really I had suicidal thoughts, and I almost didn't make it. And being part of this group, I feel loved and connected, and like nobody's here just trying to sell me stuff. And just was, got choked up and held a couple of his words just to breathe a little bit. And not that anybody here is necessarily suicidal, but just doing something new and difficult is hard, and doing something new and difficult alone is even harder. So connecting with a community of people can definitely help. It just comes down to, are you looking more for the just emotional support and feeling like you're not doing this alone? Or do you need the actual tactics and guidance of somebody who's gone through it or is going through it? Because if you're really ambitious and want to be aggressive, you may feel that the group is not enough, like if they're not also aggressively going after their goals.
I don't know if this is a time to just briefly talk about what's your processes of, write the content, the chapters, the outlines of your book, and the ideas, how it come all together.
Yeah, this is good. It's becoming the book episode. I like it. So I write nonfiction. I think fiction is a different game. And maybe Michael can talk to the fiction process, but I would struggle immensely on the fiction side of things. But for nonfiction, it starts with a main idea that you want to get out. Like your one word is a main idea. Built to serve is a main idea. Like, what's the big idea that you want to get out to the world? Then the way that I think is I go sections, chapters, pages. So what are the main sections? So if you look at built to serve, who, why, how, and then monetize. So under built to serve, there's 4 main sections. Under each section, then are all the different chapters. And then under the chapters are all the different pages. I got really overwhelmed in trying to remember the big vision and be in the micro of writing this individual page at the same time. Me personally, maybe others are completely different, but I had a really hard time trying to remember, trying to keep the whole thing in mind as well as write my specific page. So I start from the top and then work my way down. And then all I have to worry about is writing the page that fits into the chapter. I'm not worried about, so I'm writing the who section. Okay, what are the chapters? Okay, great. Under there, all I'm worried about is finishing that chapter and not about monetization or the why or the how or the other sections as well. I think when you can compartmentalize like that, at least for me, it's super effective. Just like my calendar. So Thursday is my public facing day, right? I have Movie Makers this morning, then interviews and podcasts and shows, and then you guys, and then more interviews and shows afterwards. I'm not questioning my schedule every single day. I'm not waking up and saying, oh, should Thursday be my public facing day? I wonder what, maybe I'm showing up and doing it. Right. So I have a 5-95 rule. I spend 5% of my time planning and 95% doing, where I think most people get caught up in just planning, and then restructuring and rechanging and planning some more, and then not enough time actually doing. So I'll sit down whenever something feels out of whack, I'll sit down and readjust my schedule. But otherwise I show up, but I'm doing my schedule. So Thursday, I'm not questioning. I wake up, Movie Makers, of course, events, readers group. Great. Next. And every now and then I'll step aside and look from above to say, does this still serve me? You know, like does Movie Makers still serve me? Does whatever still serve me? And if it's a no, then I'll adjust. But for the most part, just show up and do it. And I take the same approach to the book, where 5% planning of big idea, section, chapters, but 95% of the time I just show up and write the page and just write the next page and just write the next page. That really allowed me to create. And then the other thing inside that was just chunks of time. For me, and I think if you're doing creative work, it's hard to force it out in tiny increments. So I don't subscribe to the write 2 crappy pages a day. It took me 40 minutes to get right back into where I was last time. And so I needed the whole day. So I would pick one day a week and I would get out of my office here and I would go to the Whole Foods Cafe just down the street, which is enough of like a nice vibe, enough of kind of background noise and a little bit of distraction to allow me to focus. But then I had no commitments. I had no meetings. I had no team. Email was off. You know, you can't reach me. And I'm going to be there all day long writing. And it might take me 40 minutes to get back into remembering where I was last time. And my first couple pages would suck. And then I hit flow. And if you can stay there for a couple hours, you can create some amazing, amazing things. So at least for me, anytime I'm doing creative work, chunks of time, like making videos, same thing, chunks of time, like doing this, you know, before I go live to do anything, I'm always a little bit nervous. There's always a little procrastination voice to say, I don't know, maybe you shouldn't do it. Find some reason not to do it. Right. So by having everything back to back, it helps. So I start with Movie Makers and I log in and Zan's playing his music and he's welcoming everybody and yelling at them to turn their cameras on and, you know, all of this stuff. And then we have such a great energy by the end of it that's easy to stay in that energy. And then I'm bringing that energy to my next interview and podcast and everything else. And to you guys, and then take your energy and take it to the next thing. So it's easier to stay in the zone when you get into the zone. It's hard to get into the zone in the first place a lot of times. So for something like writing a book, I think you need to have chunks of time where you can dedicate to it where there's nothing else. Because if you feel like, oh my gosh, I got to finish this by noon because after that I got to go do this and this and this and this, you're probably going to write some pretty crappy stuff.
Do you publish books for others right now?
I don't publish books for others. I'm not as hot on the book train as other things. If you write a book because you feel like you need to get this book out of you, not because you think it's a great marketing strategy. It used to be like you need a book. The book is the thing that sets you up for success. That's like, hey, I'm a published author, so that gets you speaking gigs and other things. People care less and less and less and less about it. And it's so much work to do that your time is probably invested elsewhere in better things. I would rather invest my time on YouTube. I'd rather invest my time on Discord than I would in writing a book. But sometimes it's just like, it has to be a book. It has to be a book. And so I have to create the book. People ask me, when is the next book coming out? I don't know. I have zero plans. Like Built to Serve is the book. As far as I'm concerned, at least for now. Zane's going to hold it up. He's reaching for it. There it is. So yeah, I would much rather help people launch businesses, which is what I've done with a couple of entrepreneurs, than I would create a publishing company out of just personal interest.
Yeah, thank you. You're really inspiring, and thanks for taking the time to teach us.
Cool. Happy to help. Rosie says, I need to get this thing out of me. Built to Serve is the book. It has to be. Like, I don't think, I fought with my agent for years on that. Like, is a book the right thing? Do I have to do a book? He always wanted me to do a book. Cause like, why, Steve? Like, well, cause it opens doors. Like, yeah, but it doesn't anymore. Not as much. Like, I can open up doors with so many other things. I can open up doors with my YouTube channel. I can open up doors with lots of opportunities besides just having a book. Now, if you love book, it's something else, right? I mean, it felt like the biggest work of all time for me to sit down and write. I'd much rather pour that into a video. But Built to Serve and Your One Word just felt better as books, like to go through the process, as opposed to, I could have made it into a series of videos. I could have, like, each page or each chapter could have been a video that I guided people through. I don't know. It just didn't feel right. It's really a feeling thing. Why did I record the meditation video? I don't know. Is meditation important? Sure. But I've never made a meditation video. Whatever reason, it felt right. And some things work out great and some things don't. You know, when I did my rap to a Chinese video, that was fun. That was a moment in time. That I woke up, there was a song called Mang Chung that was in my head. It was 3 a.m. or something. And I just was thinking lyrics to that song. And so I decided to spend the whole day writing the lyrics out. And then I practiced 3 times and then recorded the video. And you can find it. I mean, it hasn't blown up. It has, like, I don't know, 60,000 views or something on it. But it's me rapping on top of a Chinese song. And then people were like, well, when is the next rap coming out? It's like, I don't know. I have no plans on doing this. This is a moment in time. I felt it. If I get called to do more rap, I'll probably get better as a rapper. But that was it. So same thing with the book. It was a moment in time. Maybe it'll be called to do it again. But it has to be something that's like itching to come out. If you're doing it as a strategy, don't do it. If you're doing it because this thing needs to be birthed, it has to come out and it's a book, then that's the reason to do it. Then you can apply strategy on top of it, right? So the big decisions always with your heart, and then the small ones with your head to help you go off and actually execute. If you want to get a copy of Built to Serve and join us live for our next training with me to ask your questions, you can go get the book right there next to me, right there. I'll see you there. I'll see you to get the book. It's a good one. Much love.